All right, time now for a look through the papers with Diptyka Laurent. Hello to you, Dipty.
Hi, Will.
Beginning with the Olympics out in Beijing and the International Olympic Committee's reputation in tatters after another Russian doping scandal.
Yeah, yet another one, Will. Russia, of course, is no stranger to doping scandals. This latest one, though, does involve a very young participant, a 15-year-old ice skater, Kamila Valieva, whose history-making quadruple jump during Monday's team figure skating competition helped win Russia the gold medal. There was speculation, though, that something was off because the gold medal ceremony was delayed. The International Doping Agency now confirms that she tested for a banned substance called trimetazidine. She tested positive for the substance back in December during the Russian National Championships, but a lab only flagged the results this week. So it's raised really big flags about why the IOC even let her compete at the Games despite this positive result. It's a huge deal as well because Valieva is a big name in ice skating. She's tipped to potentially become one of the greatest ice skaters in history.
Yeah, and that quadruple jump she did was something no other female Olympic skater had done before. There's a lot of focus on the sport itself and the way these athletes are training.
Especially the way Russia trains these athletes. They're put through some grueling programs, often when they're prepubescent. The Washington Post explains, for instance, that young skaters are taught to jump by twisting their upper bodies before they take off from the ice. The result is it puts an incredible strain on their backs, and it also relies on them staying thin and prepubescent for as long as possible. The Post sort of describes these conditions that seem factory-like. If these athletes are ready to retire within a year or two, that's fine. There's always some other new prodigy who's willing to take their place. And often these former stars are left with things like chronic back pain or eating disorders. Take into account their age, too. Valieva is 15. Some of her teammates are barely more than that. Allegations of doping bring up questions about these girls' autonomy and really what the adults are doing to supervise these girls.
Yeah, let's move on now to a very bizarre story coming out of Russia where a teenager has been sentenced to prison for trying to blow up the Russian intelligence agency building. This in a video game.
Exactly, in a video game. Minecraft, actually, that's the name of the video game. Now, 16-year-old Nikita Uvarov has been sentenced to 5 years in a penal colony on terrorism training charges. It dates back to summer 2020 when he and two other teenagers were detained for spreading leaflets in support of an anarchist who was later jailed. They also put a leaflet on the local building of the FSB, that's the Russian intelligence agency. Police confiscated their phones and said they found an exchange about plans to blow up an FSB building created in this block building video game, Minecraft. That's on the Moscow Times. Now, the Russian website Novaya Gazeta really condemns the ruling today, saying Uvarov, a, quote, homely, bookish teenager, is now going to prison with hardened killers. The writer adding quite bitterly as well that Russian families will now need a sort of safety manual to keep their children under the radar of what's accepted by authorities.
Now to another unbelievable story, a different kind though. A story of a woman who says that she was rescued from her kidnapper thanks to the viral word game that we all play, Wordle.
That's right. This is a story with a happy ending, but it did start off quite terrifyingly. 80-year-old Illinois woman Denise Holt was faced with a terrifying home invasion when a mentally ill naked man with a knife woke her up in her home and then locked her in her basement without food or water. She was saved by the unlikeliest of things. Turns out Holt and her daughters are avid Wordle fans and send each other their daily scores every morning. So when her daughters didn't receive Holt's daily score, they contacted a neighbor. At first, slightly irritated and then, of course, concerned. They contacted a neighbor who went to check in on Denise Holt, found her in the basement, called the police, and managed to rescue her. Thankfully, she was unharmed. But who would have guessed that a head-scratching vocabulary game could actually save your life?
Oh, I hope no one's worried about me. I haven't solved today's word yet, so I still have to get to that. All right, Deepti, finally back to the Olympics for our last story. U.S. curling player has become somewhat of a star for his sartorial choices.
Yeah, the Winter Olympics is the fun part of the Winter Olympics is when you're designated sort of the star of the games, and especially from little-known sports like curling. So U.S. curler Matt Hamilton is doing just that with his very carefully crafted physical image. tattoo sleeves, a mustache, a mullet, and what Le Parisien calls abs made from draft beer. Hamilton is the unlikely, or perhaps for that reason, the likely star of the Winter Games. His amazing sneakers are also garnering a lot of attention. They're skateboarding dunks meet curling.
I love them.
And it's an ode to U.S. skateboarder Paul Rodriguez. This USA Today writer has penned a really adoring article to his shoes. Apparently, he had to insert Teflon into the soles to be able to slide on ice. There's some real technical stuff there. As if that's not enough, he's also an ardent defender of the Black Lives Matter movement. He's planning to donate his long hair to charity. So, just a great American guy all around.
And I can tell you it's genuine.
A bit like you, Will.
Well, I can tell you it's genuine because I have a friend, Nate Suzukas, who's friends with him and plays curling back in Madison,
well,
Wisconsin.
there you go.
All right. Thank you very much, Diptyka Laurent. And as always, you can find all our press reviews on our website, France24.com.